Well, good morning, guys, and welcome to the show. Today is a special day. That's right, today is something that has been coming for, well, since 2009, and it's 2018, so that's a long time. Today, we're putting a stereo in my car. Yeah! Now you might be asking, what car could possibly go in my car? And why does it even matter? Reality is it really doesn't. However, Alpine came out with this guy right here, and I kind of fancy it. I think it's a pretty nice radio, and I think it's time I finally put a radio in my car. Because after all, we do this for a living, and I understand it's one of those things that as an installer, I should have a radio in my car, and I know that. And it's been killing me because out of all the cars I've ever owned, this is the first one that has never had a stereo in it. I've made millions of excuses, but today, that's all gonna change.
Hey guys, on today's show, we're gonna have the new Alpine iLx F309.
Stay tuned. So today we're gonna try something a little different. Most of the time we take the radios, we put them on the counter, we unbox them, we show you the front, we show you the back, and that's not to say we're not gonna do that, but today we're actually gonna put it in the car, which is awesome, because it's my car. We wanted to try this. The purpose of finally getting around to putting stereos in our cars is because we want to have a lab, so to speak, so that we can interchange parts, whether it be this radio today, or a DSP, or a new amplifier, or something along those lines. First is to get a radio on the dash so that I can evolve it into getting some door speakers and amplifier and all that, and then we can interchange parts like Legos. We're gonna do the same thing with Fernando's car. It's something we've been thinking about for a while, and we're finally to the point to where we can do it. So now we have the radio, we have the kit that's been sitting there for a year. Let's get started. Now, full disclosure, this is not gonna be about installing a radio in a Camaro. We've done that, we have that video. So if you're interested in how to put a radio in one of these Camaros, I'll put a link to it in the show notes so you can check that out. Let's start, let's unbox this radio and see what comes in the box. So these things come in a giant box, like a lot of these bigger screen Alpines do. As you can see, it's quite massive. And I will tell you, we got excited when this came in, so we already went and opened it, and there was no way we could figure out how to put this thing back in. This thing comes with a lot of foam and stuff like that. So it does come with two boxes, this one here, and this one here. Now this has the guts, and this one has the screen. Let's go ahead and open the guts first. And by guts, I mean the actual radio portion of it, this right here. Now, for a unit that doesn't have a DVD or any mechanism in it at all, this has some weight to it, which has to do with this, which is gonna hold the screen. So they did put there's some heaviness to this, so that's nice. We have the blue bag here is the GPS antenna. We have this, which is the lock for the back. This is gonna be to lock on the HDMI, so those cables don't pull out. We have some little plastic trim panels here. These are for the sides of the screens to hide where the screws go. We have a trim panel here. This is to pretty up the bottom or top. I don't know which yet. Bag of screws here and a bag of screws here. So we have two bags of screws. Now this one here has some Loctite on the screws. That's the blue stuff on there. We have the camera in interface along with the auxiliary input and the iData link. And then it also has a speed sense wire. It's really a holdover from units that have GPS. It allows you to do tracking so that when you enter a tunnel, you're in the right spot at the end of the tunnel. You have a second harness here. This is your steering wheel control input, which is going to be an aux style, as well as your mic input, which is they're the same. So it uses like that 1/8 inch or 3.5 millimeter input. Make sure you get those two right. It's ironic that they put both on the same harness. Okay, so pay attention when you're plugging those in. The Bluetooth microphone, this guy right here. Of course, it comes with a USB cable. The USB cable is 43 inches long. Third cable in the box is this guy right here. This is going to be your RCA. Now, if you're wondering, this unit does have 4-volt preamp output, all set there, and of course it has staggered RCAs. This is one of the features that Alpine loves to do. So the first is going to be blue, which is your subwoofer. The second is going to be front, which is gray, and the third is purple, which is rear. So this allows you when you're plugging it into the dash so that you just don't have one big clump of RCAs. Then the last harness in the box, it's going to be the main power harness. Now the main power harness has this guy right here. This is the yellow blue, which we'll go over all the wire colors in a little bit, but right now the yellow blue, this is the emergency brake wire. This one does not have the yellow black. So if any of you guys are familiar with older Alpines, they had yellow blue, they had yellow black. This one only has a yellow blue, which means if you're going to do, let's say, some form of a bypass, that's up to you. You can hook up the Pioneer bypass. The green Pioneer output on that would hook up to this yellow blue wire, and then that yellow blue wouldn't hook up to anything else other than that bypass. And then in the bottom you have the instruction manual, which we'll go ahead and set outside. Next box up is going to be the main display screen. Comes in this cool little cover over it, just like that. Nice thing is they do have a screen protector on here. So if you want to leave that on, whatever works for you. The iLx will not power up until the power plate is installed. The power plate is attached to the back of the display. All right. Very important. Now for this install, like we said, we're going to be using the pac-audio Radio Pro 5. That's the RPK5 GM4101 Camaro kit. This allows us, for those of you who've never seen it, to retain the factory Camaro look, which is one of the reasons why I waited so long to do this, because I hated the other kits that were available. I really like my air conditioning controls. This allows me to retain them. Now, the one thing that's unique about this radio is that it is you're basically going to need a single DIN style opening. So for this, we will be keeping this pocket. We just have to figure out if it's going to go on the top or the bottom. Now, these pack kits are designed to mount to the bottom. They have this hook that you always see us remove. This kit is going to snap in just like this, and then that would hold the radio. That's not to say we can't move things around. We're just going to wait and see where the radio lines up on the kit. Now, if you do have a Camaro and you're going to go watch the Camaro install kit, just a couple things before you go do that is that this kit allows you to retain all your peripherals. So for example, it comes with the USB adapter here. This bag allows you to keep your factory aux connector, so those are both included in the kit, along with the antenna adapter, so you don't have to buy a separate antenna adapter. Now this has a big piece of foam over it. A couple of these Europeans do. A lot of them now, they've actually got rid of the foam. I just like to put a layer of Tessa tape over it. That'll keep that metal from bouncing around in the dash. So now that we know what parts we're going to be using to install this radio and get it in the car so that we can start playing with it, let's go ahead and take a look at the one piece of reading material that comes with this, the owner's manual. Now, first things first, you're going to get the ownership card, which is this guy right here. Basically what this is telling you is that if you want the real owner's manual for this, go to Alpine's webpage and download it, because this is just going to be a quick start guide. You get the Alpine thank you, you get the quick start guide, and you get the installation manual. Now for this, we just want to start looking at the installation manual. This is going to, of course, go over how to mount it into the dash, different ways to mount the bracket, how the side panels clip on. But what we want to look at is this guy right here. This is the wiring, because we're going to take care of the wiring part of it first. So that will go ahead and grab our harness. Now, Alpines are a lot like every other manufacturer, but some of the colors are different. Where they're similar is on the speaker wires. So this is going to have a white, gray, green, and purple, and then corresponding solids and black stripes. White is driver's front, gray is passenger front, green is driver's rear, purple is passenger rear. So those all stay the same. We have a yellow wire, which is going to be memory or constant 12 volts. We have a ground, which is ground. We have the red, which is accessory. We've already talked about the yellow blue. We have a blue with a white stripe, which is going to be the amplifier turn on. And then we have a solid blue, which is going to be the antenna turn on. Now, a lot of people think that antenna turn ons are just for antennas that go up and down, but a lot of cars, mine included, have some form of an amplified antenna that requires power in order to activate. So make sure if your car has a blue wire in the harness or your wiring harness, that you hook that up. The one that is going to be different is this one right here. This is the orange white. In most manufacturers, the orange white is going to be illumination, not on an Alpine. This is not illumination. This is actually the reverse trigger. And as you can see, they try to give you a hint to that because it's not the same length as the other wires. It's long, just like the yellow blue. That means it's made to go somewhere. In this case, to a reverse trigger. Now, this does have the ability to dim and brighten, but it's done on the radio's face itself and not through the electronic. We have our aftermarket harness all set and ready to go. We've gone ahead and prepped it. We put the Tessa tape on it. We've combined all the wiring. We've got everything set. We have all our corresponding wires here. Now, because this is a pack harness, the purple white wire, which is what matches every other manufacturer, is going to be the reverse trigger. Now, this does have an orange white, which is illumination. We got to make sure we don't use that, so we'll go ahead and just fold that over. Now what we want to do is take this harness and marriage it to this harness so that this part of the install will go ahead and be done. So the harness is all set and ready to go. The one thing you'll notice here, just in case you're wondering, we didn't test to tape this up. This radio is going to get run through the ringer. We're going to test it extensively. I really didn't want to test the tape over this just in case we need to get in here for any reason. I test the taped up to here, put some shrink wrap, then we just zip tied the rest of this together so that if we need to, we can do probing and testing and stuff like that, and I don't have to keep re-taping it up. Since we have the harness all done, let's go ahead and take a look at what's going to plug into the back of this radio. Now on the back of the radio, we have the main power plug input right here. You have an HDMI input here. This is for the GPS antenna. The USB goes in here. Now these are all countersunk. As you can see, there's a lot of depth to those, so you don't have to worry about them sticking out. The RCA cable going to plug in here where it says pre-out. They actually label them across here, so this one says pre-out, this one says remote, power. Up here we have CAN IF. So we'll go ahead and plug in our RCAs, camera interface, and then our wired remote and auxiliary. Now what we want to do is go ahead and take the radio and attach it to our brackets. Now there is no sleeve for this. It's made to be screwed into something. Go ahead and slide this guy in. Now what we want to do is make sure we go ahead and use the Alpine screws. Alpine uses a fine thread screw, not a coarse. Now we'll go ahead and test fit it into the kit and see how it looks. So essentially this is what we're going to be looking at, and these brackets are going to allow us to move this screen down. As you can see, it's up kind of high right now, but we'll get it into the car once we get this mounted and we can figure out where we want to mount this bracket. I just wanted to test fit it to make sure that we had enough room. Right now what we've gone ahead is we've figured out where all the cables go on the back. We know that the radio is going to fit and clear this dash kit. We'll go ahead and set this aside and we'll build this up real quick, and then we'll go do some test fitting in the car and figure out where we want to mount that screen. Kit is all made up and ready to go. We have our knobs on, so that's cool. We've gone ahead and dressed up all the harnesses that are going to go into the car. These are all the Alpine harnesses. We've zip tied those up so there's no danglies hanging out. The one piece we forgot to talk about was this guy here, this guy. Now what this is designed to do is on the back of the radio where the HDMI goes in, is this goes over the hole. There's two teeth at the top. This goes in, and then this will tighten up in just like this. You twist it down, and then that'll hold that HDMI into there so you don't have to worry about it coming loose. And the reason why it's shaped like this, like it looks like there's going to be two and there's only one here, is that this is the same one that they use on all their units. So like a 207, it actually has an input and an output HDMI. This one doesn't. That's why this looks like this. They're just using the same part. And we're not going to be putting an HDMI in this, so we're just going to go ahead and put it back in the bag. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and put this in the car, dry fit it in, test fit it, get it all set, mocked up. We're going to go ahead and clip this in place. We'll figure out how we want to line up that radio. So let's get over into the car. So we're going to go ahead and remove the screws out of the side of this. This is going to allow it to slide up and down like this, as well as have this guy here turn. There's locking points where the screws go. As you can see, as you turn it, they'll show up. Just like these points here are also, as you slide this up, they're going to, you want to make sure you're over those points to screw it in. All right, so now that we have it loosened up, let's go ahead and get it into the car. Now obviously I don't want it to block any of my air conditioning controls, and I don't want it to block any of my airflow. So somewhere in that area right there, that right there would be perfect. So let's see if we have screws behind there. All right, so that would be the position right there that I can lock it in place. All right, so let's go ahead and get this off of here. We'll take it back over to the bench and screw it down. So for my car, right now I'm gonna start out with it one down, one open from the top. So that's gonna be the 2 spot there. And then this is more or less at a 90 because the radio is at an angle to begin with. So go ahead and put these screws back in. Now I would strongly recommend using a screwdriver and not a drill. Now that we have it locked in place, we can go ahead and grab the two trims for the sides. They're clearly marked right and left. So looking at the unit, this would be the left-hand side. You just push on, and then if you need to remove them, there's a push tab right here that allow you to back them back off so you can do any further adjustments if you decide to move it any. All right, so now that hides all of those brackets on the side. Let's go test fit it in the car again. All right, so the one bad thing about this is though I have this giant screen here in the dash that's awesome, I am hiding my temperature that is behind this. I feel it's an acceptable loss for right now. If I need to, I can move this down, but I will never have access to that with this current radio in here. All right, let's go ahead and get this back out and finish the install. All right, so now that we've test fitted in the dash, we kind of have an idea of what screw holes we can use. There's these two right here at the front. We can use those. Remember, it came with that bag of screws, this one here that has that. So two of these silver screws will go right here. And then this guy, this was that pink warning we had at the beginning. This is gonna slide over and go right here. And then there's one screw that's gonna go here. And once that screw is in, then the unit will work. All right, so now that we know where we're gonna put the screws, how it's gonna attach, we can go ahead and take this and get it into the car. A couple other things we've done, as we said, this is gonna be a platform to test other equipment. We went ahead and ran a set of Stinger 6-channel RCAs, as well as a power and ground for a camera, the remote turn on, and another RCA for a rear camera. That way we can also test backup cameras so that we can actually see how well they work. A lot of new cameras are coming out. EchoMaster constantly comes up with new cameras. We can test them on this first to make sure that they're gonna do what we want them to do. So I'm pretty excited about that. You ready, Fernando?
Let's go.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get this into the car. All right, grab the harness. If you remember at the beginning of the video, we talked about this pink piece of paper here and this little piece, which is this guy right here. It says this will not work unless that is connected, and they're correct. And the reason why is behind this screen on this side right here, there's a little tiny pin switch that when you slide this in, that pushes in place so that the screen will come on. It's a safety feature. It's telling you at least there's one screw that's holding this in place, because this would just vibrate loose if you didn't put that one screw in. So it's kind of like an insurance policy. Problem we're gonna have with that is that if we slide this in, there's no way for me to get that piece in with the screen pre-assembled. What we're gonna have to do is pull these screws back out that we put on the side, put that in, screw it down, and then readjust and then snap those things back in because of how far this sits in the dash. The other thing too that we've noticed is that the ribbon cable, when you're adjusting this screen up and down, you want to make sure that the ribbon cable stays out towards the bottom and doesn't come out the top. The reason for that is that when you go to put this on, if that ribbon cable's in the way, it's gonna pinch. Now I would suggest strongly having a magnetic screw or something to magnetize these things, because they do have to go in very hard to reach spots. All right, at this point we can go ahead and turn it on, make sure she works. All right, she's working. Now we can go ahead and adjust it back up to where we had it. All right, so we have it mounted in place. Now these little guys here, as you know, we've said are gonna go onto the side. What I'm gonna wait to do is I'm gonna make sure this is where I want this to be before I try to clip these back on, because they're gonna be difficult to get on and off once I've got it in there. We got it in. We're gonna go ahead and get the rest of this back together. Then we'll show you some of the features this thing has. So real quick, the bag of screws that it came with, it had the Loctite, it comes with the black screws and the silver screws. These are extra screws because as you saw, it's really hard and sometimes you're gonna drop those screws. So they wanna make sure that they give you enough screws so if you lose a couple, you have extras. And then the little locking piece that goes on the back, it comes with 2 screws as well because it's a small screw. And if that's not attached, as we said, it doesn't work. So don't feel bad, you're like, hey, where'd all these go? Just put them back in the box in case you need to service it, you know where they're at. Alright, so let's go over some of the basic features that are built into this radio, specifically the hard buttons across the bottom. Over here on the far left side, you'll see a little pinhole. That's a reset button. Next to that is your volume up and your volume down. If you tap the speaker, it'll go ahead and mute the radio for you. Next to it is the actual mute button, so there's 2 ways to do that. Then you have your microphone. What's the weather like today?
It's currently clear and 71 degrees.
Now that will launch either Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. The button next to that is going to be your main source. This is going to go ahead and bring up all your sources, which you can modify. You don't have to have actually all these sources up. It's also going to bring you up some of your apps, music, artists. This is the main home page. Swipe from the top down, it'll take you back to your radio. The little star button is going to allow you to make favorites. So favorites allow you to make a station, make a personal phone call, and put it on your favorites page. This is your favorites page here, so you can fill this up with all the favorites that you want. So think of it as you can have AM, FM, Sirius XM. You can have the 3 people that you always call. You can fill it all the way up. If you notice right here where this plus star is, this is how you would make a preset radio station a favorite. Then you have your track up and your track down. If you swipe over from the side, that's going to go ahead and pull up your presets. You can flick through them. You have 12 to choose from. Swipe down from the top. This is where your sound settings are going to be. Now when you're in this page, this is your basic sound page. So this is going to give you the ability to do bass up, treble up, balance front and rear. So there's your fader control. And then when you're done, you just flick up. Now if you come up from the bottom and hit setup, this is going to take you into the back end side of all the features. So here's wireless Bluetooth devices. Click general. It'll move you up a page. So in your sound, you'll have your preset EQs. As you can see, it has 10 different preset EQ settings. Back to your balance and fader again. This is a more refined balance and fader. You can turn on and off your rear speakers. You can turn on and off your subwoofer. You can control your subwoofer level. You can turn your subwoofer in and out of phase. This is where the 9-band parametric EQ is. You have 3 presets that you can make. Here's your front, rear, and sub crossover. Here's your time correction. Now also compatible with this radio is the Tune It app. This will allow you to use your phone to tune your stereo. So for example, we'll scroll down here and we're looking at the balance and fader, tap here. As you can see, it's moving the radio. From here, we can do all the same tuning that we can do from the radio itself. So we can come in and use media expander if we want to. We can come in and adjust the parametric EQ. Here we can tell it we want to just adjust the bass frequencies, the mid frequencies, or the treble frequency. We can adjust those. We can adjust those up or down. This might be easier to use than using the actual radio. That's up to you. So you actually have 2 ways to set the EQ in here. Now if you flick up here, you can go to your CarPlay or Android Auto. Now a couple other sources that it has. For those of you guys that like AM FM, this does have the HD tuner, and if the HD tuner in your area has it, it will go ahead and support album artwork. Alright guys, this one is done. Now we realized this was a little bit more unconventional from our standard radio reviews, but we wanted to try something different. We knew we were going to be putting this one in my car, so we thought it would be good to maybe do a real world review, actually get in. And this one, I feel it needed this because this one was a lot more difficult than just a standard double din, single din, build a kit, slap it in a car. That removable face takes a lot of work, there's no doubt about it. It was a struggle mainly because of how deep the Camaro's dash kit recesses that in. So if you're gonna do one of these where, like the Camaro, it's recessed in a good inch, do yourself a favor and don't tighten anything down until the end. We ended up taking that screen off about 4 or 5 times before we got it the exact way we wanted it, mainly because of the way the kit had to go in with the bottom piece. We thought we had it and we had to take it back out. We didn't show all that because, you know, once you get it in, you got it in. There's really nothing to show there. Now it is nice that Alpine gives you the extra screws, so keep that bag, put it in the armrest, save it in case you do need to service it. Have a magnetic screwdriver for sure. You're gonna need it because those screws just want to fall. There's no doubt about it. They want to fall. Luckily we didn't lose any. No. It was amazing that we didn't. Have a couple different length screwdrivers. Like on ours, the driver's side was really hard, but the passenger side obviously was super easy. That was nice. All in all, you know, cool. Now, I will tell you this. We know we didn't go over all the features built in the radio. They are the same features as a 207. So if you need to know what features they have, go ahead and check out a review of the 207. There is one feature that they improved on the 9 series, and that on the 207, you had to do page up scrolling. On the 9 series, you can do active scrolling. So that's a real bonus feature. That actually is probably the thing that made me the happiest, because on the 207 that kind of bothered me. I didn't really like it. I mean, it worked well, but it didn't. I'm used to active scrolling. This has active scrolling, which is cool. It was a tough install for sure, but I'm happy that it's in.
Yes. Yeah.
So
and I'm sure everybody's happy
I'm happy they're happy. If you guys want a 9-inch touchscreen with 6-channel 4-volt preamp output, HD radio, CarPlay, Android Auto, 9-band parametric EQ that you could set from your phone, or this big touchscreen 9-inch that's in your dash, time correction, independent level control, subwoofer volume, a whole bunch of stuff.
Fully loaded.
If you want that for your dash, definitely check out one of these iLx F309s for sure. Anything you have to add?
No, it's just nice piece.
Nice piece, for sure.
That's it.
Yeah. All right, Fernando, we're gonna let you guys go. Thanks for watching so much. End the show for me,
All right,
buddy.
if you like this video, please subscribe, share, like. You know where you find us: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, also on Twitter.
You guys have a great night as always. We'll see you later next time.
Bye.
Bye.